Hey, welcome back to another episode of Panther Airsoft Folding Table Talk. This is episode 63, and we're going to be talking about what happened in that elections, and as well as the future of Airsoft as we know it. This is going to be talking about a whole bunch of things, and with our guest, Nicolas J Martin, who helped us push, was it two petitions already? The big one that
EP
really
petition, yeah,
like
right. We headlined that one. Yeah.
35,000 signatures or something like that.
36,600. Yeah.
Damn, that's an you're legendary at this point. That's amazing. So like, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into this, and um, like, I
Where
mean,
it started
yeah,
and
I mean,
how
how's it
did you
going
end
now?
up here?
Yeah,
How did you
yeah.
Yeah.
end up here?
So basically, I can't remember exactly what I was doing on February 16th, just that morning. I think I was just at work, just chilling, and then I see my phone do a little notification that talks about, hey, we're announcing the new firearms ban, and since I have my firearms license, and I know a number of people have their firearms license. I was like, oh, let me just put this on in the background. I'll have my AirPods in. I can just listen to stuff, right? They're kind of going through the press conference. Bill Blair's coming up, and everyone's talking about firearms ban. And then one of the MPs, I can't remember who it was, but one of the MPs mentioned something about, oh yeah, we're going to be taking like banning replicas and dangerous replicas. And I was like, what? Okay, so I went online. I immediately tried pulling up Bill C-21. I tried pulling up all the info on it, and I found the provisions in it that they were putting into ban replica firearms. And basically, we all know the last bit, the provisions that would ban guns over the certain velocity, and it would basically destroy airsoft in
Yeah.
Canada. So from that, I don't know if I was the first one to do it, because I imagine there was other people watching that conference, but I was definitely one of the first. And I start sending that to everybody. I start sending that message out like, guys, you got to look at this. This is not good. Right. So, and after that, I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we getting involved? And I'm thinking of it on an individual level, right? I'm just thinking like, crap, who am I going to email? Who am I going to talk to? But then as the petition got rolling around, it was very, very impressive to watch our entire community, the Bill C-21 got pushed around. It was impressive to watch our entire community start to stand up and say like, hey, we got to fight this, and we got to fight it now. So I joined with the group of guys that started ASIC, and I basically just got involved with my niche. Like, okay, well, I'm going to start talking with politicians. I'm going to start emailing them and start having conversations. And then one thing led to another, and I'm apparently the guy putting petitions in the House of Commons. I'm giving the brief to Jack Harris on like having to explain to the public safety critic of the NDP like what airsoft even is, and it was wild. It's been a weird step, but yeah, that's essentially how I started out here, and it was just all rolling downhill at a fast pace.
Okay.
So
So your position at ASIC is basically just you're like a political like the political guy or the political correspondent for the group, correct?
yeah, I'm basically handling a lot of the political coordination, speaking with the MPs. I spooled up the petitions that went out, and I made sure that those met the parliamentary language, because that there's strict parliamentary language criteria that has to be in there. Like, you can't demand from the government like, oh, there's certain things you can't have in them. It can't. So I was doing that. I was talking with politicians about getting involved. I made sure that Shannon Stubbs had our little economic report of how big airsoft is, how many $100 million industry in Canada, how many people play, which was then quoted in the House of Commons. So I pretty much handle that end of stuff. So if somebody needs to talk to somebody, it pretty much falls on my desk, and then I go and either set up the meetings or I go and talk to them myself. I have a few other guys that also work part-time on some of the politics stuff that will help me on certain projects. So I also organize them to get things out the door.
Okay.
Okay.
And I guess Mac has a question for you here. I don't know if you saw our segment this weekend. You did give me a petition. I have it here, by the way.
Yeah.
The paper petition. I don't want to show the addresses here, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's the paper petition there. There's actually another one that I printed two technically, and then another one sort of started filling up as well, because
All I can
everybody was
say-
very
yeah.
passionate. And then
All I can say is
actually,
everyone
I
was
have a
very
question for you for that.
enthusiastic.
Are we allowed to have multiple signatures on one, or is it
So with petitions, how it works is
one
that
is filled out? I can guarantee you one is filled out.
yeah, so with petitions, how it works is that the written petitions only need 25 signatures to get presented in the House of
That's a
Commons.
minimum.
That's a minimum, yeah. And the paper ones can have as many. The problem is, though, that if you have two paper petitions that each have 25, they will be recorded as duplicate petitions, and then they will receive the same response and be stacked together.
Okay.
There's a couple of paper petitions out there, and you'll see them if you run through the House of Commons website. You'll see that it's like, oh, it's this one paper petition that gets 30 signatures, but then there's like 400 copies of it that people have been sharing around and getting sent to their members of parliament and stuff.
So
they have thousands of signatures.
Is that more effective in that sense, that style, or is it more like does it carry more weight? Because we can add how many more text boxes? Like we are in no shortage supply.
Oh, and I've told I told Nicholas, I was like, yeah, I have 100 people ready to go if needed.
So it's helpful. So one thing a petition does, like, it also gets to the point of what a petition is. So if you do have a petition out there that is to show support, and you want to show Canadians all across the country saying we don't like this thing, right? We want you to end the issue going on, whatever, with international politics, an online petition or a whole bunch of paper petitions would be good. However, there's another purpose for petitions. One thing that the petitions do allow is they kind of force the government to talk to us and to respond to some of our claims, because they have to actually do it. They have to say, we asked, like, hey, can you not ban airsoft? And what we saw with petition E3201 and the Panther paper petition is they came back and said, LOL, no, good luck, guys. Like, your industry will figure it out, right? And that was essentially the response we got. So what's good with this paper petition, even though it only has a small amount of signatures, they already know the scope and size of our player base. They already know how passionate we are. We don't need to have another 1,000 signatures. But what it's going to do is, once that petition hits the floor, it's going to force the government of Canada to say, do you support airsoft? Are you going to consult with us? Are you going to just ban us again? Right? It kind of forces them to take a position. Now, you might get some politics speak, right? But like
putting us in a gray area of maybe not. Yeah.
But like what we saw with 3201, we thought they might do a gray area, and they came back and said, like, no, this is a public safety risk. You guys need to go. And then they also said that they consulted with our industry, which, as far as we're aware, is not true. So that puts us in an interesting spot. It's like, whoa, wait, you guys said you talked with people. Who did you talk to? Right? You didn't talk to anybody. You didn't talk to us. Did we talk? Did we talk to you, Mac? Boy, like, they didn't talk to anybody. No fields, no businesses. So it's interesting. But yeah, that's the value of these petitions, in a sense. Like, it gives us an opportunity to kind of like suss out some information, like, oh, what are you guys thinking? You gonna ban us again or what? Like,
yeah. Well, okay, so perfect. That can kind of lead into what I was. So yeah, we had a really successful it was a rainy weekend, but again, no problem securing those signatures for the petition and everything like that. And then just to kind of avoid like political madness that just happened, because I know no matter what party you're with, no one was happy that just happened. Like I have talked to every single person of every kind of walk of life, and it doesn't matter if you were on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. We were all going, why are we having an election right now? But that being said, a lot of people were, kind of riled up with the threat of C21 and just coming in there. And then with the election kind of said and done, obviously all those old bills kind of get scrapped, and then we'll see what happens with, the government, again, not changing much, and then moving forward here. So I did ask the members of my community and stuff like that, what airsoft means to them and why they play. So if you could just give us a brief little, because I know, again, you're a heavyweight in the industry over there on your end of the pond, so it'd be really nice to hear, Nicholas, for our viewers here on the West Coast, what airsoft is to you and why do you play?
So airsoft, to me, one of the things that I always tell people when they ask, like, well, what is airsoft? Like, what does it mean? It's camping with the boys. It's going out on the weekend and spending, you're hanging out with the guys. You might have a fire, probably not, but you're just chilling and you're having a great time and laughing. And at any point, you might just die. And it's like either in game or unironically if the weather is bad. And it's just a lot of good fun. Like you have a purpose to stay together and work together, and it's not just an aimless thing. And that's what airsoft to me is at a functional level. But past that, it is an excuse for just social interaction. It's just more than going out, seeing people, having a good time. It's like, hey, I know you guys. I've seen you around. How have you been? Oh, let's go capture this objective while we're talking, right? And that to me has always been the main driving force. Obviously now it's a little bit more of a business. It's a little bit of income for me, and it's important to me on that aspect. But really, the social element is 85% of why I'm still here, because I can, like from a business thing, I can make money anywhere, but like my friends are here. I have a great time. I love doing airsoft and I love playing the sport. And yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, I don't know what else more there is to say.
No, hey, that was a beautiful answer. And
pretty good,
again,
yeah.
that resonates with a lot of the folks that were giving me a lot of the same responses too, right? It's that sense of community, the camaraderie, the the little bit of fitness that you guys get that you might not get in your regular everyday to life, and you get to come out here and you get to try and do something else or try and be something else, and it's that's what it is.
Yeah, no, and I have so many people who sometimes like they have a love-hate relationship with airsoft. Sometimes they're like, man, I want to quit because either people not calling their hits ruins a game or something like that, or some nonsense. And I've never felt that way. The only thing that I've ever thought to myself, like, man, I want to quit airsoft, is because my goggles keep fogging.
Yeah,
it just like
same
ruins
story.
everything.
I am
It's
with
like,
you on that.
Oh my God, when it's like 9:30 at night, the sun's going down, and you're like, oh my God, it's really dark out now, and you find out it's just no, your eye pro is just completely fogged, and it's like,
Yeah,
it just
nothing moved in the bushes. You're just seeing things.
yeah. So that's the only thing. But yeah, no, I love the people in our community for the most part. For like 99.
I love the banter you guys do at AC, like the groups. In terms of like whenever a meme happens at like your CP or some sort of failed raid, or you snuck up on someone that was sleeping, it goes into the Airsoft Canada of either the Facebook group or the forums, and and for us back here west, it's always out of context because we're like, what's going on?
Well, for a lot of people, it's a lot out of context too, because like a lot of those memes don't.
Unless you attended the actual sim, you would know, but
Yeah, and they never get made for like, let's say the big events that you have like 300 people go to, because there's just so much going on and there's no opportunities. It's those small games where it's like there's like 20 people here and 20 people here that allows for those really awesome opportunities and storytelling, right? It was like Zim sneaks into my CP and find me sleeping next to my buddy. I'm just cuddled up next to him because I thought, we'll be good for another hour and then I can get up and go do the next objective. And then he comes over to me and takes a photo of me sleeping, and just that stuff doesn't happen at the big games as much, right? The small games, like some of mine, there's other community members, like Deadfall is seen as like the pinnacle of airsoft over here, and you get a lot of crazy stories from those games too.
Okay. Like, I guess let's just get back into track here. We'll talk about airsoft stuff in a bit here, but let's talk about the next topic here. The big topic is what happens next. So we're gonna break down some of the election results that happen here and see what happens to our beloved airsoft hobby, or sport, whatever you want to call it. There's a big debate over that, but we're not gonna get into that. So the elections is over. So just to verify, airsoft is not banned and the sky is not falling. Is that true?
No. So I pretty much put a post out.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, the sky right now, it's not falling. C21 hypothetically could come back. They're under no obligation to bring it back. And considering how much of a mess that bill is, even on like the firearm side, there's some concerns that a lot of the parties have had with it. So it doesn't look like C21 will come back. Now, a gun ban will probably come back this government. And the question is whether or not airsoft will be included in some form. If you want my honest opinion, if I was a betting man in Vegas having to put money down right now, I don't think that they're going to introduce an airsoft ban on par with what they had. Now, they might have weird regulation and they might do something else if they reintroduce it. But there are people in Ottawa right now who probably break out into a cold sweat anytime the word airsoft is mentioned, given what we did after C21 dropped, after they had about like 2 weeks of the phones ringing off the hook, the news articles coming out. So there is
we assaulted them pretty well on that
yeah.
part.
Yeah, so like there's people out there, they'll be like, oh, do you want to put the replica band back in? And like a door will open up in the background. Some guy, no, don't do it. Like that's probably what's gonna happen.
The Hornets just calm down. Like
no, it's like so there's a chance that might happen as well. So I don't think we're gonna face a ban. The problem is that there could be bad legislation that we will have to face. And at this point, it's kind of a waiting game. For everybody, for like most of the audience, it's going to be hey guys, go enjoy airsoft, go buy that gun, chill out, and you know what, conserve your energy and your enthusiasm for the next fight. Because if they come back and say like, hey, we're not banning airsoft, but we're forcing you to get a firearms license, that's going to suck too. So like we need to make sure we have the energy to fight that if it does show up at our door. So, but other than that, I mean, we got to kind of wait and see this government, because who knows what's going to happen, right?
I mean, just to post a little bit of statistics on the post-election stuff. So, in terms of like the elections that came up, is this the best possible outcome, like having a minority government?
I mean, if you don't want to get into like picking political sides, I know there's obviously what I personally would have preferred, and there's what others, depending on your party affiliation. I would think that a weaker minority, a term that I've been using is a super minority, where the Liberals would have had to go to both the NDP and the Bloc to pass legislation. I think that would have been better for the country. I think that would have been better for everybody. But we're essentially in the exact same government that we had last time. The Liberals are under no obligation to push C21 through or another bill with airsoft in it. So it's a pretty good outcome, right? If you own real firearms, you're probably not exactly happy, but this isn't where airsoft is today, right? I'm wearing the airsoft hat, so.
Gotcha.
But it's not bad. I mean, it could be worse. So.
Yeah, I mean they literally spent $610 million of taxpayers' money to hold an elections in a pandemic. And then also, speaking of pandemic, there's possibly potential COVID-19 exposures from a few from a few sites as well.
So, and we got the same government,
and
like,
it's the same thing.
Seats.
Yeah,
it's the same government.
Yeah, so the numbers are 159 liberal seats, 119 conservative seats. Is it Bloc at 33, NDP at 25, Greens at 2. So the independents basically filled up the rest of the seats for the liberals and whoever else. So yeah, same seat number. They didn't get 170. Thankfully. I mean,
yeah, that could have been not fun.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, do you think they would have just like passed it, just put in?
You know what, man? I don't know.
I don't want to think about it, but damn, that's crazy.
I don't know. There's listen. We're gonna get into it'll get into politics and like bashing certain political parties. I don't want to speculate as to what they would have done, because frankly I have no idea. Some of the stuff that's been going on that we heard with in the past parliaments is okay.
That's democracy at work, though. I mean, some people didn't want that, then this is what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into the works of petitions. I guess we talked about a little bit of it at your introduction, but do they actually work? Because I would say it did, because we had, 2 petitions now, and they do work. We got a response from them from the 432-00799 public safety from Mark Dalton. That was from the Panther paper petition that was sent out. We got a response from that, and we dissected that from, I think, episode 49 from us, and the response wasn't too great, honestly. And then as well as the E3201 domain petition that you had by Terry Dowdell. Wasn't great either, because it basically says, hey, you guys are a threat. That's
they were the copy and paste answers.
Literally, I looked at it and I'm like, whoa.
But if you want to
Same.
get into the mindset, like about did the petitions work? Actually, the e-petition was good because it did kind of legitimize a lot of our numbers. Like when we say that there are tens of thousands of airsofters between our communities, there's 60, 70, or 80,000 airsoft and paintball players and whatnot running around. To have a petition up that has like over 30,000 signatures is, number one, it shows that we have a lot of very passionate people. But secondly, to get back into the whole like strategy of like, oh, the petition forces them to say something. Well, not only did we get a response from Bill Blair's office that was written by Joel Lightbound, but we also got a response from the Minister of Justice, which was Dave Lametti, and he echoed a lot of what Bill Blair said. So now we know that Lametti is also kind of on the ban the airsoft camp, right? Which we had kind of no idea before the petition response. So stuff like that, yeah, they work. They give us information to work with. They give us people to say like, hey, this guy wants to ban the BB guns. Go email him, go call him, like try to figure out what to do, right? So stuff like that, yeah, it works. It's helpful in so many ways. Will we have a big e-petition again? I don't know, probably not. Unless if another band shows up, then yeah, absolutely. But the paper petitions, we might see a couple of those churning out every so often.
So I guess the question is, what is the difference between like a paper petition and like the e-petition that you submitted that has 36,000 something signatures? What are the differences in both?
So they're functionally the same. An e-petition requires 500 signatures, but there's also an open signing period of about minimum is 30 days. And some people ask me too. I was like, well, why did you have E3201 open for only 30 days? And I was like, well, we're going to get the signatures. We're going to get most of the signatures in a week or two. And then we wanted it to present it to the House as quickly as possible, because after it's finally presented to the House, then it takes 45 days for them to actually reply to it. So you could leave those open for 30, 60, 90, and I think the max is 120 days. There's no reason to. The paper petitions, same deal. You can collect as many signatures, but the minimum instead of 500 for online is 25. And you get a couple extra just in case, just to be safe. And then we can shove that in like just as quickly as we need to, right? So if this was an online petition, yeah, we would get the 500 signatures, but it would still be open for another like 3 weeks from now.
And you won't get a response 46 days. You said something like that after
46 days after it's given to the House. Whereas that thing is functionally it's ready to go. Once it gets into the member of Parliament's hands, it'll be presented, and then yeah.
Oh, okay. So this petition that you sent us, do you know who will be handing it? Like we handed the last petition to Mark Dalton. Terry Dodell was the e-petition. Do you know who's actually going to present this, or is it a mystery right now still, or?
It's a little bit of a mystery because with Parliament and the election, everything's been a mess until now. Like some emails weren't working. There's new staffers. Some people technically weren't parliamentary staff because they were working on campaigns, so they didn't have access to the normal. Like there's a lot of weird stuff because of the election. So now that everyone's getting back into their office and reconsolidating, that communication's starting to go on. It might be Terry this time, or it might even be somebody else in the party. It could be Shannon Stubbs who presents it, but we're working that out now. It's just that people kind of have a few more important things to deal with, and all the stuff has to fall back into place. But it will be presented by a Conservative member of Parliament.
Okay, perfect. So what is the strategy of like running this early instead of like late in the game when well, not late in the game, like when we're looking for a response? Are we looking for a response now, or is it sort of are we just making sure that we're on top of things? Because we're more, I think we're more organized now than we were back then.
100%, it's about just being on top of them. So the idea is that they just ran this big election. Everything's the same. They spent all this money. They're getting back into Parliament, and then day one of the 44th Parliament, airsofters are knocking on the door like, "Hey, we're still here.
Remember us?"
Like that's it. Like
hey,
that's
you
it.
guys said
That's
you
all.
were gonna ban us. Like,
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing, is that we're gonna be there, and we're just gonna say like, "Hey, don't forget we exist." Also, and in this petition, it does say, "Are you going to commit? Are you going to consult with us? Are you going to actually talk with us this time?" Right? So they know that we're not going away, and whoever the new Minister of Justice is going to be, whether or not it's Bill Blair or it's going to be somebody else, somebody in his office, this petition is going to roll across their desk and be like, what is this airsoft thing? And then somebody else is going to be like, oh boy, okay, listen. And they're going to have to go over the entire C21 anthology, right?
Yeah.
So that stuff is, yeah, we're day one, we're here, and we're not going away. Just to let them know that we're staying on our toes and ready to go.
That's good. And ASIC is doing their part in terms of making sure that they're on top of this, right? Like, you guys aren't just like, because I know in the background, the way politics works is it's very slow. It's very like methodical in a way that you have to do things properly. As you're saying, when you had to do a petition at the very beginning, you have to have parliamentary language to get things going. You can't just demand things. So it's the same thing for ASIC, right? They got to make sure that they take the proper steps, they collect the proper information, and same thing with the FSAQ folks as well over there.
Yeah,
they got to talk to
guys.
they got to talk to their politicians properly. So petitions, I guess we summarize that they do work. And do you think that the liberals will try to ignore us with these petitions, or just like they're gonna be like rolling their eyes and be like, oh, not this again?
I mean, even if they roll their eyes and say like, not this again, that alone is enough. Like that's just keeping them in the mind, right? Like a little thing during the election time is somebody out in Quebec actually saw Justin Trudeau on the campaign trail, and he asked him about airsoft. He's like, hey, me and my son like to play airsoft. Are you going to ban it? And Trudeau, he ended up replying saying like, we've heard your community's concerns and we're going to try to do something best. And a lot of people think of that as like, oh, that's just a politician giving a politician answer, which is true. But what that actually means is that airsoft somewhere in the prime minister's head lives rent free. Like, we have a small little corner carved out where he knows what airsoft is because of what we've done, which is really awesome to think about, right? Like, it's really cool.
It becomes their daily talk all of a sudden, or not their daily talk, like something that gets thrown in there in a pot of other issues, and then you get airsoft at the corner. You're right that like having a petition out there, getting all these guys to talk about it and have a response from them really really just shakes the bag for them to be like, oh no, not this again.
Yeah, when the talk of oh man, when we're doing the next gun bill, the talk of, are we going to include airsoft in it this time? There's going to be somebody in that room that says, man, it's not worth it. Don't do it. And we don't know which way they'll go, but there's going to be somebody sitting at that table like, I don't want to deal with that shit again. Right?
My phone blew up for 2 months. Like,
we're not going through that again, please.
Yeah. So it's it could happen. I mean, but that's it. Like we like, it's really cool to think about like our little toy gun sport. He might have known about it or heard about it in passing, but to know that like the man running the country like he knows that we exist and he knows what we've done is really cool. It's really cool.
His government literally kicked the hornet's nest, and then we just came, coming back at him. So yeah, petitions, they do work. Do you think we'll expect more paper petitions in the future? If we get like once they get started, or if we're looking for answers, is that when we put out a petition saying, hey, what do you mean by this, or this, and this?
And it's gonna depend on the response to this one, and depending on their tone. If they come back and say like, yeah, we'll consult with you, whatever, and it's a much more passive tone, and we start getting more inroads with the Liberal Party again, then it's like, okay, maybe we hold off a bit because why annoy them, right? But I do have a list of probably about 20 plus paper petition ideas, and they're all different enough that they will generate their own responses. So if we do want to bug them, it's like there'll be a petition. It's like, hey, Tokyo Marui guns are pretty cool. We understand citizens of Canada say, let us import Tokyo Marui guns. Like just nonsense like that.
Hey, if the government gets mad, don't get mad. This is the game. We have to play with them, so we're just playing the game, right? I mean, that's how it works. We just got to figure things out. Yeah,
they're the ones who don't like us having low FPS guns, so they're the ones making it a problem.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it all depends. Like I mean, hey, if we weren't involved in C21, right? If we weren't pulled into that bill, we wouldn't be having this specific, Zoom call right now. We wouldn't be involved in politics. Prime Minister wouldn't know our name, and like we wouldn't have a petition with 36,000 signatures of people of our community who said like, nah, don't ban airsoft. Please don't do it. Right? Like
Yeah, we'd still
all
be
of
in the
this
gray
is a
area.
response.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of this is just a response to the government. And I guess that now with the new government, we have to see what that government does, right?
Yeah. So we've been talking about the Liberal government for a while now. Let's talk about what we call airsoft allies. So we've been pushing this term for a while. Airsoft allies. What does it mean? For the Liberals to sort of pass legislation, they must work with other smaller parties to get enough votes to pass through. So you got other parties that are in government, like Conservatives, Bloc, and as well as the NDP. Conservatives, has our back because they're the ones that are pushing our paper petitions. Thank goodness they're there to help us out. Like Shannon Stubbs, Terry Dodell, Mark Dalton, and countless others who spoke against the airsoft ban. You got the Bloc, who's the next big party, I believe, other than the Conservatives. They've been an airsoft ally from the beginning, thanks to the work of FSAQ. I don't know how to pronounce their Federation
Federation.
Sportive de
Yeah.
Airsoft du Quebec. Sorry, I'm not. I don't. We don't do French here in the West Coast. But yeah, they've done a lot of groundwork there, thanks to them. And as well as the NDP has shown support for our cause as well. Jack Harris, at the very beginning, said that this is why are you why are you attacking this small community, right?
Yeah.
Like airsoft allies, are they a real deal for us? Because a lot of people in like Airsoft Canada or the other forums or any other internet communications are saying that yeah, don't vote this, don't vote that. They're gonna ban guns, but specifically for airsoft, is it like real deal?
So at the end of the day, airsoft is supported by 3 out of 4 of the major parties. And when I say major parties, like the Green Party, like they have 2 seats. They're not flipping a vote, right? So if the Liberals wanted to pass C-21, they would have needed the support of one other party in Parliament, like one of the big parties, to get it done. So you have the Conservative, which I mean, we both know that's not happening. No shot. Or the NDP or the Bloc, right? And both of them came to the conclusion that the airsoft ban is not good. Can't be in the bill in its current form. Maybe there's something like, they were very wishy-washy in Parliament saying like, oh, maybe we could figure something out, but like it shouldn't be in here. Why ban this hobby? It doesn't make any sense. It's really, they were very strongly opposed to the language of C-21. And as a result, C-21 can't move forward. While they oppose it, they won't have the votes to move it along. It won't go, hypothetically, it wouldn't be able to go into committee. And if it came out of committee unamended, which is, committees are where the bills are amended to, and they can actually like take things in and out. But if it went into committee and it wasn't amended, the airsoft part wasn't amended, that bill doesn't move forward and it dies, right? So as long as we have the support of both the NDP and the Bloc, as well as the Conservative Party, because they're good people too, and they love us. As long as we have the support of all of them, like the airsoft ban can't move forward. Right. The question is beyond that, like what types of regulations and restrictions will they support? Right. And both the Bloc and the NDP might have different ideas as to what that is. And it's the work of everyone to communicate with them, talk with them and say, hey, we think this would be a bad idea if it were to be pushed through. So I was the one who actually spoke with Jack Harris of the NDP. Really great guy. It's really upsetting to see that he's retired, but he was a lawyer. So I was having a conversation with him and he didn't know anything about airsoft or how it exists legally. So we were actually sitting down and we had the text of the criminal code open on our call. And we're like explaining like how it's not technically a replica firearm in the criminal code, how it's a unregulated firearm, and it's this and that. And we were talking, and he asked about orange tips potentially as a solution. And I was like, well, one thing that might happen with orange tips, if it's written poorly, think about it like this. Let's say you say that all airsoft guns have to have orange tips. Otherwise, it's a replica and possession is a felon, is an indictable offense, right? What happens if you're in the wood playing airsoft and you smack your gun off a tree and the tip breaks off, right? Did you manufacture a prohibited device or are you just possessing one right now? Either case, that's so if it's written poorly, it could be problematic and you need to spend a lot of time really working it out and really properly putting it together. So nobody's going to go to jail for playing with a toy gun. And like all the light bulbs were clicking in his head. Like, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, yeah, we have, it's really,
we had brainstorming stuff here for like out at the field when we were talking about this on our first field report segment about talking about C21 with the folks out here, and they said something along the lines of if we introduce a orange tip, can't someone with the real firearm just put that on their firearm, and then it becomes a toy gun all of a sudden by
Remember
law?
the Glock
So-
nerf? Remember the
Yeah.
Glock nerf, man?
So there's a whole mess with that, and we see in the States too that the orange tip stuff does potentially cause problems because criminals do put orange tips on guns. But that is also a can of worms past it, right? The question is, would orange tips be a good solution for us, like if we had to take them? And the answer really comes down to maybe, but like there's so many ways it can be written incorrectly, right? And the same thing goes with any of the rules, right? Like if we had new requirements on possession or import, what does in public mean? Like, do we lose the ability to take airsoft guns onto crown land if they had something like, oh, you can't take it on in public anymore or whatever, right? So any solution or any law or any proposed legislation has to be written very, very, very carefully. And the question is, like I kind of said, if they do another gun bill, like would it even be worth the effort to write in that very, very, very careful legislation? Like, or are they just going to leave us out? And that might be why, right?
So that
Because it's a lot
puts us in a position of another gray area then.
for now, potentially, yeah. I mean, well, the gray area is the gray area that we're currently existing, and everybody kind of has a handle on our current gray area right now. Everyone knows the CBSA has an entire document explaining like what airsoft guns meet, like why they explain. It was actually a really fascinating read. They even explain why they currently consider right now clear plastic airsoft guns to be not replicas. And the reasoning is that there are no real clear plastic firearms in existence. So that's why they're not replicas, right? But brightly colored ones aren't, because you can paint a real gun orange, right? So that's part of the reason they interpret it, and a lot of that feeds into the RCMP and everything. So stuff like that is, everyone's got a handle on it, but obviously it's a legal interpretation, and that can just change tomorrow if they want to. But we're kind of okay. Like, I've imported guns myself, and everyone else has imported probably stuff, and the stores are kind of doing okay. So it could be worse, but.
Okay. Do you think regulations would help us in a way bolster our airsoft business, or stay with the status quo?
So there is an opportunity if we had a favorable government that wanted to create a nice legislative framework. There is an opportunity to strengthen the laws in terms of like not allowing easy access to whatever concerns people have, like an 8-year-old child running around in public with like a Glock, a toy Glock, right? But at the same time, allowing easier importation and sales and everything. But the question is, do we have a government that would be supportive of that and want to put the work in to actually consult us and help our industry out? And I don't personally think that we're in that spot right now. Maybe the next government, who knows? Even if it's a liberal government in the 45th Parliament, they could have a different leader in a different direction, right? It could be a smaller government where the conservative and the NDP and the bloc, they hold the balance of power as like a sort of like a coalition, and maybe they would agree on a law that helps airsoft out. Who knows, right? We don't know.
But to put things into legislation, that costs time, money, and as well as like you have to pay a lobbyist to sort of get that sorted out. I don't think that's one thing that we have at this point for airsoft.
Yeah, and you need to have like a legislative landscape that's a lot better. So for example, like if you had like a conservative majority government and they were putting through a new gun bill, you could probably hitch onto that very easily. But if you have a gun ban bill going through and you're trying to like, hey guys, can you let us import the Tokyo Maruris? Like, that'd be pretty awesome. That's like a harder pitch and a sell to like really work out, because it's going to be a lot of language altering, right? But I think most people can agree the definition of replica right now is kind of annoying. Like, it doesn't really do anything. Everyone has guns that look like real guns. Like, everyone has toy guns that look like real guns, and everyone has like fake guns that basically look like real guns that aren't technically replicas, but like if you pointed at anybody, they wouldn't know, right? So the definition could change, but I don't know. It might not. It's probably not this government that would be the one to do it. It might have to be a future government.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about the future of airsoft. What is like a sweet spot for airsoft to be in if it were something that were to pass in legislation? Would it be sort of adding regulations, import regulations, rulings for ownership and all that fun jazz, or even licensing at this point? Like, what
Uh,
would be what would be the ideal situation?
so I can't comment in terms of like what necessarily ASIC is okay with or what I'm okay with. I like the laws as they are right now. I think they should be loosened up a little bit, and maybe there should be a little bit stricter. Like there should be a really clear cut definition of like don't take your airsoft gun into a shopping mall. Like I think like having that like because that's technically illegal, but it's not specifically illegal. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not spelled out.
It's not part of
Hey,
the criminal code. You
dude,
mean?
we know, man. We've had two guys that have recently done this year,
Yeah.
claiming to be airsofters, and they've gotten off on vandalism charges or mischief charges, and it's just all like, dude, how? Like, we are not. This is not us. Like,
Yeah. Like I don't see an issue with the toys out there. So like obviously having better ability to import like token Murray stuff and everything, I think that's fine. I don't think we need licensing. I don't even think we need like orange tips or anything like that, because once again, the hypothetical trade-off of like criminal liability is like somebody might just go to jail because they were taking their gun home, it was in their trunk and it didn't have like an orange tip on it, or maybe they forgot their license at home because they forgot to bring their license to the toy gun event, right? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I don't think we necessarily need that. The question is, I think the question would more be like in a future problem, like if we were facing another bill, it's like, well, what are we willing to accept if if not being banned, right? So that's also a question there. But I think I like it where we are now. I would like TM guns. I'm looking at some right now. There's a grenade launcher in Hong Kong that I want. I can't import that thing.
oh, we know, dude. Hey, don't worry.
Yeah, and then there's also, did you see those striker shotguns, the street sweepers? I'm like, so there were they're shell ejecting or like the
Yep.
gas shell, like
Oh.
striker street sweepers. Those have started coming out, and I'm looking at it like, oh man, I wish I could import that myself. But like Trigger will probably get it in, or somebody else will get it in because they know how to do the legal
Yeah.
whatever nonsense with the CBSA for those. I'm just waiting. I'm just sitting here like salivating, waiting for those, right?
I know. Oh,
Then
man.
it'd be nice to just be able to buy it and tell the CBSA like, LOL, it's toy gun for and just let it through. But
So what? So we all know like airsoft's not getting banned. What work is ahead after the election? Other than the petition, what are we looking at in terms of like what do you want the community to start doing coming up? Is there anything that we should be doing specifically, or just stay as is, buy your stuff, go out to games, like what you said
nah,
before?
man, go out, play, have fun, enjoy it. Like everyone did great work this election. Like it was awesome to see who actually stood up, who put work in, who put time and effort into trying to save airsoft. Go have
Just
fun.
commented on
Like,
Facebook.
yeah, like just yeah. Yeah, but it's like I've been referring to them as the real ones, right? You can see who the real ones are in our community, and it's awesome. But we all are on the same team. Like go play airsoft, have fun. We have a victory here. It's not the best victory. It doesn't mean we're entirely safe, but you know what? Sometimes celebrating is the way to do it. And playing airsoft is good. Like, can you imagine fighting for like 7 months to save airsoft, and then after it's saved, you're like, I don't want to play. Whatever. Like,
I would be very sad.
just go outside, go play, and then just be on standby for the next thing. It might come and it might not. Like maybe the next big push is the next government, right? Maybe we don't get introduced or a new law this time. Maybe the next government is like, hey, we're very favorable to airsoft. What do you guys want? And then we can go and ask them like for a better law or legal landscape. So everybody conserving energy and being motivated and ready to go for that is probably the most important thing. Because if we start going and annoying them now, like there's no point, right? We're not in a gun bill, we're not in a ban, we're not in anything. So it doesn't matter. Go play.
Yeah, we just got to make sure we're on top of it.
Yeah, well-
And okay, so that being said too, is this let's play safely and responsibly. I know that goes
Yes.
to a lot of people's like core values and stuff, but there are lots of times where you're broing out with your friends or you might just see other people's because I don't know if this happens for you, Nicholas, at your fields and everything like that, but for us all the time where sometimes you're trying to be cool or you're trying to be funny with your friends and stuff like that, and then you neglect the safety aspect of things. And you got to remember that even though this is a game too, right? It's at the end of the day, safety is the most important.
Yeah, no, I find the biggest like safety violations aren't even like people like kind of misbehaving or messing up, but it's like somebody comes back to the CP and the CP's in play, and then either they're fought, they just take their iPro off, or like
Yep.
they lift it up for whatever reason. I have to yell at them like, bro, why? Put it back on.
Yeah, let's
Like,
go. Come
yeah,
on.
obviously in a lot stronger like language with more expletives, but like it's like, yo, like guys, come on, like come on.
Where was right? Like, what's our number one
Yeah.
rule here?
You're gonna get shot. Like we just had a guy lurking around. We had to send 10 people to sweep a guy out lurking around in the swamp behind our CP
Mhm.
like 30 minutes ago. And you're in here with your iPro off. Like you could get shot at any time. Like, come on, dude. Come on.
But I only need one eye. Like,
Yeah.
And what do you say to those that keep saying it's over, they're gonna take our toy guns away? I mean,
They're wrong.
this-
They're wrong. They're wrong. So they're wrong. They're wrong in the same way that anytime like one of our posts went up and someone was like, "Oh, the NDP are gonna like ban you," or slippery. The NDP doesn't support airsoft. Those people are wrong. There's a lot of people who are wrong online, and that's just how it's going to be. If someone says they're going to take our toy guns, you know what? We did unbelievable work last time. Bill C-21 came up. That whole bill came to a stop. We had people in Parliament like on government time. There are, for the entire history of our country going forward, there's going to be records in the House of Commons on the Hansard indexes and talking about like the airsoft ban and how stupid it is. Like that stuff's going to be in there for 100 years, right?
I have
So
the
like
Thug
we
Life
did,
videos saved.
yeah. So like we did good work, and yeah, those people are just wrong. They could be right later, but that's not their fault. They're not.
This ain't
They
it.
didn't predict it. They didn't have a crystal ball, right? Like they're just wrong right now. They're not coming for our stuff. I would bet money. I would literally bet money on. I don't think we're going to get introduced in another gun bill in the 44th government. Like I would, I don't think that's the case, because just the amount of noise and headache. Like I have a document somewhere that has like 50 plus news articles that deal with like the airsoft ban and the replica stuff. Like we caused them problems. So
we did it,
they have
Reddit.
nothing to, they have nothing to gain by putting us in, but like we can annoy them. Like at the very least, we can be really annoying. So yeah, like we're not banned. They're wrong. Period.
Okay. Well, as always, they're always gonna, be in their own little small world thinking about this. Unfortunately, there's not too much we can do, even if we provide information. All right. So that ends that portion of our topic here. We could keep going here with non-related airsoft questions, since you're our first guest from back east.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So unless you want to add anything to this topic of what's happening next for airsoft and the government in general.
I think we're good, but at the end of the day, we just got to sit and wait. Like we don't know what's coming. We got people in the community like you yourself, Poi, and the guys at ASIC and the guys at FSAQ. The gears are still turning. The clockwork is the gears are, everyone's.
It's just a
working in
very
the
slow
background.
gear though with the government.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
but everybody's working. All the retailers are very aware of how much they have to lose. Like everyone's working on it. And putting the appropriate amount of time into it. We just don't, we're not in a panic. Not, the sky is not falling. We don't need everybody to hold up the sky. We're just we're kind of making do right now. And everyone's working and talking with people and trying to make connections and organizing and keeping the chats going and keeping everybody, like all the important people are on this still. So just feel comfortable knowing that nobody's asleep at the wheel, and we're ready to go. So
Excellent. So I have a question for you. How do you see the East versus West airsoft community? Is there a huge difference in opinion sometimes after dealing with all this nationwide, countrywide airsoft C21 stuff?
I think you'll see like the East versus West mentality. I think it's about on par. Like with what you might see between like the English and the French communities in the country. Everyone's kind of like their own person, but it's almost like a family relationship, like your brother, right? Like we might fight when we're at home and I might like smack the side of your head because like, you took shit out of my room. But when the bully at school comes to your little brother and starts messing with them, you show up to back him up, right? Like we're all one big family. And when things matter, the differences don't. But when everything's calm, yeah, we might bicker a little bit, but it's everyone's on the same team and everyone's happy to have each other, right? No one's out here saying like, well, I hope, I don't know, but I hope you guys are saying like Ontario will fall into Lake Ontario and like vanish off the face of the map of the country, right? I hope not, but we're all good. I'm happy.
I think the general consensus for us is like sort of like the same thing in politics, where you guys usually get the most pull in the political side because that's where the most voting areas are. And then when it comes back to West, there's a difference in like it's stronger NDP side here,
yeah,
all that fun jazz. But yeah, but when it comes to Airsoft, I noticed that when we united under one banner, we kicked ass. That is the amazing part is how fast. Do you remember back in the days when when C21 rolled around and everyone's like heads down, and we're like, what do we do? And then we all banded together in one chat and we'd be like, you know what? We're not gonna take this like down on the ground. We're gonna fight all the way up to government, and we did. And now we're in our mindset, and that's the amazing part is this community has gotten so far into government that it's just amazing how far we've been through. Like,
man,
you wouldn't see yourself now if it wasn't for this, right?
No, it's so crazy to think like February 15th. I'm just sitting at work like, damn, I hope these COVID restrictions kind of go away. Because like it'd be nice to play with the toy guns. And then like a few months later, I'm like, I have like, oh yeah, yes, Shannon Stubbs' office. I do have that report on the airsoft industry that you can talk about and present in the House of Commons. Here you go. Do you want me to email it to you? I have it. Like it's just it's insane how quickly things escalated and where everybody is in this process. And yeah, everyone banded together, made so much noise. I don't think I could have asked for a better result on the C21 stuff. Right now, I think I'm very happy with how everybody stood up and put in work.
Okay. All right. So for the audience out there, if you have any questions, please post it up at the live text box. But Tack, hit them with a non-political question here because I'm sure you're sick and tired of having to deal with the political questions now. But yeah, go ahead and hit them.
Well, I just want to reiterate to people that it's important for all this stuff to get through. It's important for people to hear about it and everything like that because it is complicated. And we have great guys like Nicolas here who are taking the brunt of all the energy to deal with all of this stuff. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't know if I'd have even a quarter of the amount of energy required to deal with some of that stuff. So I appreciate it, and I am hope the community here appreciates it. With that said, my first question is, what's your favorite reason to go to big airsoft events? Because I know your background, just hearing from Boy and whatnot about what you do, and also seeing on Airsoft Canada some of your guys's memories as you were talking about earlier and whatnot. Like, what drives you to go out to these things? Because it is a time-consuming thing as well as a I don't want to say financial burden because that's not the way I want to look at it.
I don't go to as many domestic big games. I go to a couple, usually Deadfall. But I don't like the 200, 300, 400 people games with the flag flips and everything. There's too much chaos going around, and there's very little opportunity for, I guess, like organic storytelling to feel like your impact mattered, right? When you have 300 people running around a field and you go and like flip a flag, like that's cool, but it's not like pivotal to the game, right? Mm-hmm. So I tend to focus on games that are either more narrative or like objective focused and are a little bit, I don't want to say smaller in scale, but like medium size. So that's kind of the events that I personally like to run. Mm-hmm. And a little paradoxically, I like going to Milsom West for that same reason, because even though there is like your side will have like 100, 150 or 200 people on it, and the other side will definitely have that many on the NATO side. You do move and work as a platoon. Like that is very much a grunt simulator. You're just an individual soldier mixed in with a platoon, and you're all 40 of you guys in that one platoon are going and accomplishing one single task. You're taking the town, you're taking the facility, you're getting pushed off of a hill, right? And there's like cool stuff happening that's going to dictate whether or not you sleep inside tonight. You know, because we've had times where we've literally fought to decide whether or not we're going to sleep in the forest, right? And that's like really cool.
No doubt, that's a huge motivator right there.
Yeah. So that's why I like to travel. Also, traveling the United States. And I've been wanting to do it for Canada. I've been wanting to go to a number of other provinces out in the Atlantic and whatnot. I would like to do it there, but I've traveled most of the United States now, just going to airsoft events. So that's been really cool. I was in Virginia one year, and I didn't realize that I was that close to Washington D.C. I looked at the map, and I'm like, oh, I'm like a 2-hour drive away from D.C. I just called up work and I'm like, I'm taking 3 more days off. Sorry. And I just ran around like the Smithsonian's, and I saw like that giant Abe Lincoln statue and whatnot. It was cool. And then I drove home.
You guys have a lot more history there in terms of like close knit sort of communities when, you know, like how North America got started, because over here in BC it's like long drives to go like, you know, to like Washington, baby. California, and then like go to Calgary. That's about it.
Yeah, but the West Coast is beautiful. Like we're like if I'm Ontario, like if you're not driving to Montreal or Ottawa, it's like 30 hours to get out of the province. If you want to go to Manitoba, you're spending 24 hours in the car just driving, and it's really frustrating.
Okay.
Like, oh, I've been driving for 16 hours and everything looks kind of boring and like trees and a little bit of like mountain rocks because of the Canadian Shield that we learned about in elementary school. And then you're driving for like 16 hours, and then you realize you're still in Ontario and you are hours away from the next biggest city. So
okay, all right, so flat, gotcha, boring.
It's not quite flat, it's still a little rocky, but yeah, functionally flat. Yeah, there's not much going on once you go north of Sudbury. So
okay.
All right,
Mac?
So
oh yes, okay, so Nick, we've got a question here from one of our audience members, and one of our the real ones there, as you were mentioning, people helping out in the community and stuff like that. So Mike wrote, big thank you to you for all the hard work that you have done with your crew as well. He's part of the BC AMF, so it's like the British Columbia, I'm sorry if I get it wrong, but I think it's like Air Marksman Federation or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they're under like action air sports and stuff like that.
Yep.
So he
IPSC,
has come up from the States. He's an American who's come up here, and he's helped set up a lot of things, and he's also seen a lot of the cracks in our system, and he's trying to help perpetuate us to get set up in a more organized fashion and stuff. So he's got a bit of a write up here. So again, I'm just gonna read it out just because I know Mike put an effort into putting this there. So his question is, right, so in the past 2 years, tracking the trends and equivocal disarmament of North America as a whole, it is important organized shooting clubs and like-minded individuals band together to form strong organizations. With that said, and with ASIC as the proponent leader of this past year, along with the other organizations propping up nonprofits, I can't help but feel that the next step should be a federation tying all of our organizations together. Only then can we file and have a strong stance in creating a truly recognized national sport organization, NSO or NSF. Under Action Air through IPSEC, as well as in BC, having BC AMF protect that aspect in regard to being a prescribed sport. And so this is where his question is. It goes, what steps are we taking to protect other aspects of airsoft, i.e. the skirmish and the milsim and the speed soft on the organizational level? So if you would have any insight into that, that would be great.
So one thing to keep in mind with C21, it was a very sudden thing that came across our table. Like once again, February 15th, I'm chilling at work thinking about maybe what I'm going to watch on Netflix tonight. And then I spent the next 6 months almost every single day working on the ASIC file. Everyone in ASIC, even the business owners have been kind of involved in this as a like volunteer effort. Like we're all putting our time in. None of us are getting paid. Nobody's done any fundraising on our end or anything like that. That's it. It's been like a volunteer effort. And since the sky was falling, and that was the important thing, fighting C-21, all of the effort was put there. Now that we're in the 44th Parliament and C-21's kind of going away, I know there are some thoughts and discussions as to like, well, what's next? Like, do we want to make sure it is like there is some sort of federal like federation or so to speak, or if there's like we're going to have incorporated entities for every province. I know those discussions are going to happen. I just don't know when and like how and whatnot. But the answer is frankly that we actually have bandwidth to do it now. Like we actually have time to worry about it, because like that doesn't matter if we were just going to be banned, right? We didn't need to talk about that until the ban was over. And now that the ban's over, the next steps are, okay, well, what should we do now? What can we use some of our energy for? And we're only at this is not even 2 weeks into this government. So like it's gonna take a minute, but everyone's also thinking about what the next steps are for.
Of course, like you've said, and then Poi, right? We've all discussed and everything like that. And I think it was that imminent threat of the fact that it was gonna happen. And then I understand a lot of people were like, well, now it's not gonna happen and anything's not gonna change. I don't think so in that aspect. I think it definitely is like we've laid the groundwork, we've made the connections. Again, like Nicholas, it's very nice to meet you and stuff like that. We were chatting just before we got on the podcast here and stuff, and I have never been out your way. I would love for you to maybe one day come by and drop by our place and stuff like that. That'd be great. It'd be great for the communities to be able to connect like that. And, hopefully we can see that in the future and stuff. So.
Yeah. Everyone's in the same room. Everyone's talking. Everybody is thinking like, oh, well, what's next? Right. Yeah. And like those discussions are happening, but it's going to take a minute. Cause I can tell you right now, like last week, the only thing I did after with the election, because I was working the election a lot, right? First thing I did was try and sleep, and then there was like post-election politics that had to happen, and I got 4 hours of sleep up until Friday. Then I had to run a milsim. So this week is the first week that I'm actually getting real bedtime.
After a milsim.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no,
I know that feeling.
Both me and Zim and Wan were at that event on the weekend, and we were both like, like we just had no energy. But yeah, this week I've been sleeping, and I've been really, really happy. And then my mind can start going to like, well, what's next? What's the next steps? So it'll take a minute, but we are thinking about it.
Okay. I guess Mac, if you want to hit him with a non-political question, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I just want to steer it away from the politics there, because again, I get it. Man, like, hey, we're
it's
all
the topic of the day.
Yeah, we're airsofters, and again, it was great to be able to put this connection together. Thanks, Poi. Like, so some of my questions to you guys obviously is like, you guys have so much more events out there. You guys have a much larger player base and everything like that. So I wanted to know, what is your favorite milsim event, or if it's a company or a certain AO. I know for me, for myself and for Poi and the boys out here, it's very sparse and stuff like that. So we do have one that we all enjoy for the company, the AO. So I'm sure the Milsom West in Centerville there. So that's our favorite. So I would like to know yours.
So in the US, Milsom West. I haven't been to like any other one, like American Milsim or anything, because I look at their.
Thinking about it though, because you're a lot closer to them than us.
No, I just do Milsim West, man. That's it. I just do Milsim West.
Milsim West.
It just speaks to me on a level. Like I just like going in. I even went out when they did like a 70-hour one out in Seattle.
You were at that one.
What?
Yeah, I was at that one. That one was that was
a one-time thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, they don't do that.
Yeah,
nobody could make it to the end.
That was a very unique level of suck, man. Like that thing was like I'm not a soldier. I've never deployed, but I feel like I got like an inkling, like a 1%, like view into that simulation. Because what happened was I woke up Sunday and my like body was in the rhythm of like Milsim West. Oh, it ends on Sunday, and I'm sitting there at like 9 in the morning eating my cold soup out of a can and everything because I didn't bother heating it up. I'm eating chunky soup for breakfast, and I'm like, I have another 24 hours of this. Like,
Enjoy the suck.
Yeah, my body was like in that rhythm, like, oh, I get to go to the hotel and have a shower in like 6 hours, right? But no, it was like I have a whole other day of this going on.
You paid for a whole nother day, man.
Yeah, it was a little rough, but it was a good game.
It was a half marathon to a marathon at that point.
Yeah, but yeah, I like Milsim West out here. Brian McAmoyle over at Angry Loner Ranch runs a fantastic game. This Deadfall, it's called Deadfall. It's been running for years, and it's usually like a much more serious game. Like hypothetically speaking, if you get shot, you're done. And it usually goes from like Friday night until Sunday. But sometimes it just ends early. Like sometimes it just ends like Saturday midday because, well, one of the teams gets rolled and that's it. Game's over, right? He runs a fantastic event. That field, I'm gonna be real with people though. That field's tough. That field is going to kill you. So make sure you bought the nice Gucci Arc'teryx like cold weather stuff. Make sure you've played at like higher level events, like because he runs it in November now.
That's cold there.
Like,
ooh, that's cold.
Yeah, so like he used to run it in October, and like one or two other event organizers started running games in October. So this guy, like a madman, starts hosting in November because it's like, well, if people are surviving all these October events, let's make it tougher. Now it's in November. I'm afraid to run stuff in November because he might start hosting in December now, and that'd be insane.
let's get some break out the snow camo.
Don't you guys get like snow up there at like November at that point or something like that?
We should. Sometimes we don't, but yeah, no, it can be a cold one, or it's just wet. Like it'll just be like 3 degrees Celsius and like your boots are wet and you're just cold and miserable. But it's a great time. Like it's a great game. As far as the field goes, everybody knows about PRZ Paintball. The owner, Tim, he's a wonderful guy, great guy, runs all sorts of airsoft events. So you can look at it. I know Mitch of Black Cell runs really cool like scenario games where it's like he'll have like drug cartels versus like, you know, whatever. I think he has like this it's supposed to be based off of Warzone, like Call of Duty Warzone. So it's almost like a sort of, not quite a battle royale, but like it's a different type of vibe. And a lot of fun role play and everything going on there. So Mitch runs a good ship at Black Cell as well. If you're looking for a nice event for players of all skill levels, he runs a lot of that stuff out of PRZ as well. So
yeah, I have him on Facebook. I think he runs a podcast on his own as well, or is that another person I'm thinking of?
That's a different Mitch entirely.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Tack, hit him with another question there. I know you have more here.
Yeah, well, so I'm sure some of our viewers would like to know. I would like to know what your favorite airsoft gun is, and if you have one in particular that you really dislike.
One that I dislike. Oh man. Okay, so I don't know if I dislike any. I actually dislike the ones that are like that aren't replicas, but they're their own thing. Like, well, like, you know, in Tokyo Marui they have like an AAG Scorpion now, like the little small micro Scorpion little pistol one.
Oh,
but like they have one that's like the Mod M that's based off of nothing. I don't like things like that. I like either you go all the way and you make the space gun, or you make you make a gun that looks like a real gun that you can build up, right? My favorite, I don't like the halfway thing, like, oh, we made a gun that doesn't actually exist, but it's basically the gun. It's like, favorite gun right now, between the LCTs, like I do for the Russian stuff, I do use like LCT, like 74s, 47s, but my favorite gun does have to fall to the VFC 416. I have a nice 416 built up. It has a lot of money into it, an obscene amount, and it has a nice rail, and it looks good in photos and all that jazz. And it's very reliable. And I say that knowing that it broke on the weekends, but it's still good.
Sounds like airsoft. Sounds like airsoft.
Yeah, it's still good. I just gotta get a new tap in there. You know?
Well, you just plug a battery into it, and it starts firing on full auto automatically. Like, and I'm like, oh, take the battery out, throw that thing into the trunk, grab a different gun and use that instead. So that's how it goes. But I don't think there's like a favorite gun. Although my favorite gun back from when I first started playing. Do any of you guys remember the Aftermath Kraken? This is like,
that sounds like a tack question.
This is some tack.
No, it doesn't jog my memory actually. I'm
So
gonna have
so
to
this
actually.
is so this is some ancient lore. Okay.
Ancient
This is
airsoft
some
lore, guys. Let's go.
Yeah, so this is like 10 years ago when I first started. This was back during the extreme gray zone, and the like guns were coming in like really weird, and they're like guys were just selling them. Guys were selling like an MP5 for $1,000 out of their basement, right? A lot of that stuff. Yeah, it was spicy 10 years ago. But there were some certain clear soft ones, right? And there was this one gun, and it was an AK made by a company. It was the Aftermath, and it was called the Kraken. And it was this AK with a clear soft body. It was a little tinted and whatnot. And what people would do is they would get this thing, and it was just like the most indestructible gun they've ever got. Like they'll buy it and they'll put 250,000 rounds through it without any like mods or upgrades or anything. It doesn't break.
Oh,
And
I've seen this before actually. There's a kid at the field that has one
Yo,
of these.
isn't that the one that he
Yeah.
said his brother gave him?
Yeah, no, and he actually runs around with a lipo battery in this thing, and it sounds
Yo, that
ridiculous.
thing is pimping. I know. Oh my god, I know the gun you're talking about.
it just doesn't break. It's just like somebody bought you bought it for like $13 or something like 10 years ago, and it just never yeah, it just doesn't die. It's forever. So that's like my favorite one, because like everyone would always say like, oh, when you were getting into airsoft, there was like the pump shotties from Canadian Tire, the clear soft ones you paint it, and guys would be like, man, if you want a really reliable gun, you get an Aftermath Kraken, you get the infamous Kraken, and then you get a metal body kit for it later if you really want to upgrade it. Like, and people would get that Kraken, and after using it for like a year or two, would spend like hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to get a body kit for it, because it's a reliable gun. It just works. It just works. So yeah, so that one's on like the Hall of Fame for me.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll remember that next time I see the kid at the field.
Ask him if it's a Kraken.
Yeah, no doubt.
Damn.
Okay, so I've got another one here for you, Nick. Just trying to boggle your mind with some non-political airsoft talk.
No.
You've been playing airsoft obviously for quite a while here. You're a big heavyweight over on your side of the pond, which is great. And so I wanted, just right off the top of your head, if you've got anything that comes to mind, what are your top 3 airsoft moments? Whether it's from winning a game, or pushing an objective, or like you said,
We see all Zimming's posts, so
yeah, hanging with the boys, right? Like I know I've got mine, and I have gone into them with the community on the podcast and stuff. But I would love to, give you a moment to share yours.
Oh man, one of them, and I think I've told this story to Poi. I think we did it on one of the ASIC night things. We were at a deadfall event, and long story short, I had been dead for about 6 or 8 hours, because the respawn rules for that event were I had to find my CO, and my CO was in hiding because our little hooches had been discovered like 3 times by now. So like the first night, they found where we were sleeping, so we abandoned our tarps and some of our stuff. The second time, we ended up putting our rucks down, and we're like, okay, this is all our backup gear. And then the enemy team ended up finding it as well, so we had to abandon that. And then we got schwacked. So we've been dead for like 6 or 8 hours. We're about to call quits. End up just stumbling upon my CO like in the field, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So we got back into the game, and he's trying to keep his guys alive, like physically alive, because all their cold weather kit was lost like 12 hours ago, and now it's 10, 11 o'clock at night, right? So we're all huddled up, we're all trying to share body warmth and keep each other warm. Everything's good. And then right as we're thinking like, okay, some of the guys are going to have to like surrender and or something, like we got to start moving, we get up, and our night vision picks up like, oh, there's some movement over there, right? Like, oh no, like there's movement over in the trees. Like, oh, okay, get in position, get ready, we got the guns up. And I'm looking at it, and we're seeing them getting ready over in the distance. And then I know one of the guys on the other team had a thermal monocular, and it has a built-in IR laser pointer. And what all I see is a laser pointer go boop, 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 pointing out all our machine, like guys hiding in trees, right? That should in no way be visible even under night vision. So I just turned to my CO, and I'm like, yo, they got thermal, like we're gonna have to fight this one, right? So everyone, like, safeties flipped off and everyone got ready for a fight. We had an insane fight. I can't even go into the details of the fight, but it was bad. Like everyone died, everyone on the other team died, and then it was me, 3 other guys from my airsoft team, and or two other guys, and the CO was also alive, and we're like, yo, are we still up? Okay, we gotta go. And then we just like, we grabbed our CO, we left everybody for dead because the other team, we didn't know what was going to happen with them, and we just ran through the forest for the next like hour or like hour and a half, trying to get to an evac point to get our commander out of there before, you know, the enemy team was able to regroup and come hunt us down. So we were just like hiding in the middle of the forest for the next, just running south, like trying to not make too much noise and bushwhack. Like at one point, a tree branch swings, smacks my night vision off my helmet. I'm like, fuck, I gotta get my PVS 14. Oh, you know, that's easily, if not top three, like that's easily, it's top three if it's not the top one. Okay. The other one,
share
the other one. I don't know if I have a top two, but this other one would be a contender for it. I was at a Milsom West event, and it was in West Virginia at the Panther training facility, which is like a small town. And then it's like in the valley and everything. It's a small town at the bottom of a valley, and the mission for that night was we had one platoon in the town, and NATO was going to send 2 or 3 platoons to try and push us out, and we had the other platoons out in the woods doing stuff like making monkey noises, trying to ambush NATO and whatnot, doing weird shit. So we're in the town defending it. We get into a big gunfight. But what happened to me is I was filling sandbags before the event. And as we were carrying sandbags, I ended up like twisting I don't know what it was, but I pulled one of my muscles in my legs and I like twisted and I could barely walk. So I was hobbling around for the rest of the game. I get posted up upstairs in this one building, and we had a sandbag nest with a machine gun and a couple of our guys on that machine gun nest watching the tree line. So I'm inside of this building, hobbling around, like barely able to stand up, pointing my gun out windows, taking a few shots, using my flashlight, everything like that. I would see a guy run behind like a truck next to the building. He'd pop his head up, I'd kill him, and then people would come to try and revive him, and I'd take him out too. Guys were coming up the stairs on the inside of the building, and I would start shooting at the door because the door was angled in such a way. So to suppress them, I would ricochet shots off the door into the stairwell to try and like hold them back from coming up. And it was crazy stuff. And at one point I realized I hadn't heard from our guys on the machine gun nest. I didn't know if they got overrun. So I go out and stick my head out the window, and I can't see them because it's the middle of the night, right? I'm like, yo, Troy. And Troy's like, yeah. And I'm like, yo, you still booling people? And he's like, we're still booling. And I'm like, okay, good. And then I get back in the house and I start shooting at the stairway again. And it's just like, it was such a chaotic, like it was like 2 hours of like some of the most insane airsoft gunfighting that I've ever been involved in. And I was with a leg, like I could barely walk. Like, yeah, that staircase too. We had a guy with like they had like a full tactical Vant shield. So it's like a real weight, like 70-pound shield. So he would go up to the door with the stairwell, and I'd come behind him and I'd ricochet the shots, then poke around the corner to shoot down the stairs, and then run back in the house because they throw a grenade up. And it was like, it was crazy stuff. It was crazy. Yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot of good moments like that, but it's, you know, they're all going to be the same. It's like cool gunfights, cool things happen. One of the ones at that 70-hour event out in Washington, we had a huge gunfight, like 5 platoons, like two platoons of Russians, 3 NATO platoons, huge gunfight. I'm dead. And as I'm laying there dead and blank fires going off, people are screaming, a bunch of turkeys come out of the tree line and just walk past us. I just was so confused. I was like, these birds are turkeys, dumb. Like... Yeah, I was like, these birds are like, there's literally 200 people screaming like, ah, and gunfire going off, and everything's fucking crazy. And these turkeys come out of the woods and just like in the middle of it and just chilling. And I'm like, these birds are stupid. But yeah, so I guess that's 3. That would be 3 moments.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. That was great.
That's awesome. I've heard some of those stories before from some of our meetings, so it's always fun to hear it all the time. You booling?
No, the booling thing is really funny too, because it's because that was like the level we lost that city, we lost that town where I had to go sleep in the woods that night. But that was like they were only supposed to send like 3 platoons after us, but then they sent all 5 platoons of NATO to like push our 1 platoon out of the town. And the entire time where they were doing that, the NATO guys were like, I don't want to sleep in the woods tonight. And then
that's why they were fighting hard.
Yeah. Like,
Tack, you want to hit him with that number 3 question you had there?
Yeah, so you kind of sort of answered this before, but I just want to ask the direct question about what keeps bringing you back to airsoft. Is it the people, or is it the experiences that you've had?
Well, it's definitely not the goggle fog because goddamn. But no, it's the people, 100%. It's not. Frankly, it's not really the sport. Like the sport's good and it's a lot of fun, but it's the people, man. I know so many people all across Canada now. I know so many people in the United States. I know everyone everywhere, and every time I show up to a game, and it's a little slanted in my favor because I'm an event host, so a lot more people know me than I can remember. But it's like it's really comforting to know that like I can go to a game and like somebody be like, oh hey Delta, what's up, man? You want to like hang with us, right? Even if I went alone, and that's like it's really awesome to know that I can make friends anytime, right? And even if I didn't have that capability, like this last weekend, like there were guys who hadn't met anybody before, they made friends. You know, they were just having a good time with strangers. And it's a social activity that everyone wants to cooperate and work together with, and that's what keeps me coming back.
Awesome.
Well, see, and I feel like that's definitely something that gets repeated quite a bit in the airsoft community, and I really hope that that's something that we can also convey to just our MPs and everyone in Parliament to understand that it's not as scary as they think it is, and if they do a little bit more research and kind of understand what's going on and whatnot, things will turn out good.
Yeah, and I guess I'll ask the last question here. For myself, let me know if you could say no to this question if you want. But yeah, thanks for providing me the cat eyes that I've always wanted. I think
He built
you
my
s-
MVGs. Yeah.
yeah,
thank
you remember I got two from you. He has the other
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so I actually wanted to buy the other pair so I could do duels, but he was selling it for more, so I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about it. But what got you into just doing the NVG? I guess is it more of a hobbyist for NVGs, or is it just like a business, or what is it?
No, I got the business. I got the business side too. The issue was obviously up until now there have been options. So there had been options that I didn't feel comfortable having as like this is an on the shelf product, because you're either the night vision industry for the last 5+ years has either been you're buying extremely overpriced stuff, or you're buying really crappy overpriced stuff, or you're getting like basement tubes off of eBay to like try and build units, and there's always some combination of it. But now we actually have really, really good options. So there's units being built with American glass. We got high level tubes that people even in the United States are buying as like brand new. People are buying like Photonis tubes in the United States. So that's what we're getting up here now. And it's really awesome that for the first time in the entire time that I've known is like we have options that are competitive, that the prices are good, and that you could feel comfortable. Like if I were to go and sell, like, yeah, this is a brand new unit for $5,000, right? You're not getting ripped off. Like you're getting like a quality unit. But what got me into it was at an airsoft game, and I was at a zombies event run by Team Ghosts way back in the day, and I'm just walking. I was one of the people who hadn't died, and I'm walking along outside. Can't see anything. Moon's kind of not really out. Can't see anything. And this guy Colin, that I know, good guy. He has night vision on his head, and I've never looked through it. I'm like, Colin, can I see that? How much did that cost again? Like, he was like, yeah, like 3,000 at the time. And I'm like, okay, can I look through it? I put it up to my eye, and I like swear to God, it was just crystal clear, like just solid green. Like, and I saw our remaining survivors, that the people were like, we had like another like 30 people just watching these people walk along the road as clear as day. Like, and I couldn't see anything. I was like, oh my God. And that just like, that flipped a switch in my brain. Like, these are cool and I have to have them. And ever since then, I've been like on this weird.
I think that's the same reaction for anyone who's purchased it. Is they tried it out for the first time and they're sold afterward.
Yeah, you see it and you're like, damn, this is actually, there's very few things. Like if you get an airsoft gun and you buy like, a $500 VFC and then you put $1,000 worth of work into it, it feels good. But like does it feel like a $1,500 or $2,000 gun? Like it feels good and it's worth it, but like you know in your mind that you could live without it, right? If you had to run a stock gun for the rest of your life, you'd be fine. But after looking at night vision, you're like, bro, I can't. I need to see my
Yeah, I have the same experience too. For me, it was Milsom West Centerville. It was actually with Jet Desert Fox. Me and Dayton were sitting there, and we had to do a post at 2 a.m. till whatever 5 o'clock or something like that for our defense rotation. And we were sitting there, we're like, man, it's gonna be dark. We can't see anything. He's like, don't worry, guys. Here, you guys can borrow my nods for the night. And I'm like, okay. So me and Dayton wore it.
Okay.
Me and Dayton wore it for the entire night. We saw crystal clear, like full, like there wasn't a moonlight like anywhere, right? So we didn't have any natural like lighting or anything,
Yeah.
right? So we're sitting there like, all right, let's just try it out, whatever. Put it on, so clear, even without like, without moonlight. There's still a
Yeah.
little bit of city light out in the distance, but yeah, we could just see the horizon. We could see everything. We could see the stars. It was beautiful. That's what got me into it, thanks to Jet. And then, yeah, we could just see all NATO like playing around with their IR, just like in the air, dancing around. We're like, yeah, they're dumb. They're over there. But yeah, no. Thanks for providing me my first pair. Honestly, I didn't know where else to go, and then I think you were the first person that people recommended. That was after going to Milsom West, and then I was like, okay, I need to get one. I need to get one badly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, the market. I mean, back then the market was rough, and I was like,
Yeah, that's what yeah, back then the market was like, I think the time I purchased it, I think you said it was kind of like getting easy and stuff, but it was still
Yeah.
pretty gray area or black sometimes, but yeah, you
and
pretty much guided me through.
yeah, no, and at the end of the day, like for those back then, I was very much like I was very upfront with people. I was like, look, I got this thing. It's about this good. It's a fair deal. And I would even tell people too, like if they ask me like how much money am I making, it's like, I built this gun. It's like I'm making like $300 off it or $400, right? And I would tell that to people because I just wanted people to know like, yo, I'm not ripping you off. Like obviously though, I need to make like just a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that if people wanted night vision, they weren't going to go out and buy like the ATN Night Reaper 2 plus whatever that you can get on Amazon for like $4,000 or something, and then get something that's worth like $1,500, right? So that was always my big focus, was making sure that people had an option to get like good stuff like at a good price.
I'm seeing a future Airsoft podcast for just NVGs alone. Are you interested in jumping into that? Because
I don't know.
I'm not an expert at it, by all means. None of us are, but like,
yeah, I don't want.
yeah, I think we'll have
There's
you
a
in a
lot to
future
talk
episode. There's really a lot to talk about, and yeah, we're talking about politics, Airsoft politics, but we jumped into the nods and
It always creeps up, boy. It always creeps up. Like Nick, just for there's always somebody in the chat. Right now it's Ty. It's always usually Ty. Basically, what they do is they go in there and they talk about nods all the time on the weekends and stuff like that. And then they come up in the backgrounds too, and they're like, "We got to get the nods. The nods. That's what's gonna make the game changer in the games." And then you get the
well, I don't want to push time through here because I know it is Eastern Standard Time there, and what is it, like 1 o'clock now for you or something?
No,
like
it's
that?
midnight.
Midnight.
Oh my
gosh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, but we do appreciate you dropping by and explaining what is up for for the post-election stuff, what's happening next, the petitions. Thank you for doing all that because I think without it, it's like we wouldn't have an answer from the government, honestly.
No, thank you guys, man. Like you guys have been a big help. Like even with this petition, like it was just so reassuring to know that that we have people in our community that I could ask. Like, because I think I mentioned before, like, oh, I was thinking of doing it at my event and whatnot, but then the weather forecast was like really messed up, right? And it was like, oh, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, the BC guys are super reliable and awesome. Like, let me ask them. And then you show up and you're like, yeah, we're gonna get them all in like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like it was just awesome.
It was literally like at the game speech. It's like, hey, take 5 minutes out of your day,
and then like we had a line up. We're like, okay.
And it's you guys, like, because we're nobody without the community, right? Like we're nobody if we don't have like BC and Quebec and the FSAQ guys and AJPAQ over in Quebec, and we don't have like all the people in our community who are able to like stand up and help out. Like I'm nobody, right? I'm just a dude. but it's all of you guys who are helping out that it matters. So.
And last question.
Uh-oh.
Do you want me to mail these to you?
I will let you know. 'Cause
Okay, I'll hold on to it.
Yeah. Once they
But,
give me an email address or
I
sorry, a
will.
physical
I will
address.
fill out the second one for you this weekend if we're still holding these, because I
why
have a
not?
lot of people that are like, oh, I wasn't there this weekend. I really want to fill it up. I really want to do my part. I'm like, okay, well we have
Yeah,
a second one.
Yeah, do it. I mean, and it won't hurt. It won't hurt. Absolutely. Like it'll
Yep.
just be more signatures. That's it. Like
Yep.
it's not a big deal. So
Yeah,
it'll be
perfect.
good. Fill it out.
All right. Well, that is it for this episode, guys. Thank you again, Nicholas, for doing this episode. Yeah, it was just, that election. What election? It feels like Groundhog Day. It's a repeat all over again. And yeah, thank you for doing what you're doing. It's literally God's work, Airsoft God's work. You are a legend. Everybody knows you out here because you've done all you can to save Airsoft. You're a household name here now for the Airsoft community. Don't worry.
Oh man, I have that problem too. Like too many people now, even in the States, know me just from going to Milson West events. Like I have people come up, it's like, oh yeah, you're Nick, right? I'm like, who are you? It's just, but they know people who I've been to events with and have seen me play, and I'm like, oh man, I can't.
I know.
Okay.
You didn't ask for this, but you are the
I
savior.
wanted to chill. Okay, I just wanted to play Airsoft.
Oh man, you need to come to our after show talks. You can hear all of us talk about how much we want to play.
All right, well, that is it for episode 63. We'll see you guys on the next podcast. Have a good one. Goodbye,
Take it
guys.
easy, guys.
Have a good night,
Bye-bye.
Casey.